Bleav in Everything Auburn is brought to you by Bet Online. The last of the major pro sports leagues is off and rolling. College basketball is ready to go as well. And Bet Online remains your top spot for all your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL, they're all in full swing. And Bet Online is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions. All the hoops betting action along with every sport available at your fingertips with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to the Bet Online website today and remember to use our promo code Bleav for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. That is BLEAV. Bet Online, where the game starts. War Eagle, everybody. Welcome in to Bleav in Everything Auburn. I'm Taylor Davis. He is Jason Campbell, and we welcome you into another episode talking once again about an Auburn victory, and this time sealing bowl eligibility for the Tigers this season. Hopefully going to continue to build on and get to an even better bowl, but we are eligible nonetheless, hitting that all-important sixth win for the Tigers, and they did it on the road in an SEC matchup in dominating fashion. So plenty to talk about in this one. I welcome J Cam in. And Jason, we have to start out as we always do, whether I tee you up or not. Tell us about the food in Fayetteville. What'd you eat? What'd you like? How'd it go?
I did stand in line for the Auburn Sports Radio crew this Friday night in freezing cold in Arkansas, trying to hold the line spot for Wright's Barbecue.
Oh.
And I will say this, it is by far some of the best barbecue I have ever had. And
No
the
way.
size, yes, and the size was really good. So I tell you what, like, I wanted to go back 2 days in a row, but I just feel like, Jay, you're acting like the mascot of what Arkansas is if you do that. So, so I said, let's just stop right there. and I
Gracious.
did have some banana pudding to go with it. So I got
As
some
you
weight to
should.
lose this week. I've had some chocolate chip cookies from Crumble Cookies. I've got it. I got to do something.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but we're about to have a holiday that's centered around food, so I'm not entirely sure when you're starting that
Well,
challenge.
start today. Reopen it
Oh.
next Wednesday night.
Okay, yeah. So we'll be good for a week and then we'll fall off again and then we'll get
Yeah,
back. That's the story of my
yeah,
life,
yeah.
especially
Okay.
around the holidays.
Yeah.
Not surprising at all. But I would argue to say Auburn was better. Auburn did what they went there to do and then some on Saturday, coming away with, I would say, the most complete team win that we have seen in a long time. I'm not even just talking about this season. This was a dominant win. This was complimentary football. You love to hear coaches talk about that and you think it's coach speak, but it's very effective when it's actually on the field, and I felt like the Tigers did a really good job of that. 48-10 over Arkansas in Fayetteville, and once again another showing of some offensive consistency and progress and rhythm. Not perfect, but certainly a step in the right direction. You saw more of a variation. You continue to see the RPO, the increase in tempo, the defense creating turnovers, wreaking havoc. Special teams is one of the best special teams unit in the country. Keontae Scott with that big return. Evan McPherson, I don't want to jinx him, but we all know what he's doing. And it was so incredible to watch just the entirety of it. Started out the gate, went through the end of it, all three phases: coaching, operational, handle the environment, energy. That is ultimately what Hugh Freeze was hired to do. And we all knew it was going to take some time, but here we are, week 11. What week is it? That is what we all wanted to see. And it was super gratifying to see it this season, because I think if you flash back a few weeks, Jay, we didn't necessarily know if we would see this complete of a game this season. We thought we'd see progress. The guys would build more chemistry, but this looked like a team that's been together a lot longer than they have.
Yeah, this definitely was a game that I can say they went on the road with the right attitude, the right mindset. And I'll be honest with you, I was caught off guard by this victory being this
Same.
large. I
Agreed.
thought Auburn would win, but I didn't think it would be like this amount. And I think a lot of people were. We was all asking the question like, hey, did you see this coming? And the thing is, we did it because Arkansas was a team that just went on the road, just played Florida, won an overtime game, coming in with some confidence, and they was playing to get bowl eligible. And for them to get bowl eligible, they had to win out. But their two toughest games, which is us and Missouri at the end of the year, are in Arkansas.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, you're probably gonna get their best shot and everything. And then our guys came out like they were just ready to play. And once they scored, they took the first drive down there, they scored. And I think what really hurt Arkansas and what really got our guys really going was when Keontae Scott returned that punt return. Now
Agreed.
you jump up on the team 14-0, and then they're looking like, uh-oh, what happened? Like, what's going on? So then you lose, the confidence that you had coming into the ball game. And then Auburn
Right.
is just gaining confidence, and then the next time they got the ball, they was able to score. And then they had a couple of hiccups for a little bit there. Arkansas started playing a little bit better. But
Mhm.
overall, though, our offense, they look like they're in better rhythm. Peyton Thorne seems like he's in more command of the offense since he's been, basically his show. The receivers, still got to win a little bit better on the outside. We're still struggling a little bit on the outside to win those one-on-one
Mhm.
matchups, especially on third downs. You got to win those. You got to win those battles. But for us running the football, we ran the football with 300 yards, and like Peyton, a big part of the rush game. He had almost
Right.
100 yards rushing. So I think with that aspect of it, it makes it hard for defenses just to counter, especially when you got a Rivaldo Fairweather who's showing up and having
Mhm.
big plays. So this team is like I would say, we knew that 0-4 Spark in the middle of the season was against some really tough opponents. And I think had we made some adjustments then that we made now, I think we win two of those four games.
I
I
couldn't
really
agree
do.
more.
I
Yep.
really do. I think we win two of those four games. But
Mhm.
we can't sit here and cry about things in the past. But the thing is, the team is looking better. They're moving forward. If you can pick up a win this week against New Mexico State, you're looking at 7-4 with the Iron Bowl in your backyard, coming off a 4-game winning streak. And Bama really got to beat you really to stay in the playoff hunt. So that makes that Iron Bowl is going to be like really, really
Huge.
loud and huge. So I'm just excited about what I'm seeing as far as progress and how this team is starting to buy into what Coach Freeze and the staff is trying to teach them.
I totally agree. I loved the game that Rivaldo Fairweather put together, especially he had a couple drops at Vanderbilt the week before, and he just seemed locked in a different way. And I love that we get to see a little bit. This is kind of a sidebar. We are heading into this season, television and like the referee council actually had a meeting because this is a small detail that I don't know if a lot of people know. We, for the first time ever, are allowed to have a cameraman go into the end zone, like step over the white line and go into the end zone with a camera after a touchdown to get
Mm,
reactions. That has never been allowed in college football before. This is the
mm,
first season that we're doing that. And there are very strict rules, like they can't go in there until the guy crosses and the referee signal. They are only allowed to be there for like 10 to 15 seconds and then they have to leave.
mm,
But this was decided on going into season that we were going to do that so that we could get those close up shots when the guys come into the end zone. So
yeah.
then we talked to the referees. I say we like I was in there, but I just mean television, the powers that be. Spoke with the referees about let's give a little more cushion with the celebrations this year. Don't throw the flag immediately because if we're allowing a camera to get the reaction, if a camera is right there in front of these kids, chances are adrenaline's going to get going. They're going to enjoy the moment and do a little dance or a little something to the camera. Don't throw the flag. If it gets excessive, fine. And then obviously it'll set the field goal back, but give them a little cushion. And I love that we're doing that because I think that while you shouldn't showboat, and I don't think they should be doing the choreographed stuff that we see in the NFL, let them hit a little jig, let them point to somebody, let them do a. And Rivaldo, when he got in the end zone, he was doing a little dance, and then he went back to the sideline and was like telling his teammates what dance he did. That's just like a small thing that you get a little peek into their personality a little bit, and it's reminiscent of just like these are kids playing a game that they love. It doesn't have to be so business at all times. And so I love that we're getting to see that a little bit more. That's just a small
Mm,
thing that I thought about the other day. But I think that Peyton has really come into his own. And, you make the comment about had we made some of these decisions earlier, And you're right, you can't cry over spilled milk. But Hugh said it too. Hugh said in a presser this week, "I hate I didn't put my foot down sooner." And
Mhm.
what in specificity he's referring to, and whether it's in regards to a coordinator, to play calling, to the quarterback situation. Like I'm sure it's a combination of a lot of factors, but they allowed, like you and I have said, this thing to be in flux and in rotation and in a trial period far too
Mhm.
long. If we had done that sooner, you really feel like probably two of those games would have been ours, because it really just came down to the offense not being able to do anything.
Mm. Yeah, especially in the A&M game, the first half, and
Exactly.
then, the Ole Miss game was 14-14 all the way until the 4th quarter started. Even the Georgia game, in which we did pretty well with both Robbie and, Peyton in that game, but
Yeah,
still, though, Brock Bowers just went off in the 4th quarter, and,
I know.
Jalen Simpson got hurt, so if he doesn't get hurt, it still may be a different story in that game, but
Very
I
true.
definitely think 2 of those 4 we would've won. But when
Yeah.
you talk about these kids celebrating and everything, I do think because of NIL, because of the TV contracts that the people getting, you do need to allow them a little 5 seconds, some
Yeah.
type of celebration. You work hard to get to the end zone. And when you get to the end zone, you want to celebrate. There's a way to celebrate. There's a way to enjoy it. Like I said, you don't have to do a choreographic like you do in the
Yeah.
NFL. But, at least give the kids a chance to, hey, do a little something, and then okay, now you get to the sidelines. You don't
Yeah.
want to take that aspect out of the game. I also like to see them change the targeting rule after this year. I would like them to
Yeah.
go to a first offense is a 15-yard penalty.
Yep.
Second, then you get kicked out the game. Because in the NFL, you see these guys target all the time, and it's a 15-yard penalty. There's no kicking them out of the game. Now, of course, they
Right.
get a hefty fine in the mail because they're getting paid, so they get a huge fine. But in
Yeah.
college, I just think give the kid a warning because some of these things, like it's just hard to say, like it's on the fence, but
I
you
know.
know so I just like to see them change those 2 rules and everything after this season, for us letting the kids celebrate a little more and the targeting, get 2
Yes.
chances before you get kicked out. All
I
right.
agree.
Now, that being said, defense played outstanding.
Yeah, they did.
The sacks, turnovers, just stopping momentum. Every time Arkansas
Yeah.
crossed the 50 and got some momentum going, we would get a huge sack and create negative plays to knock them back. I think that's a maturity of a football team where this defense is like, okay, our offense now is clicking a little bit. Now it makes them feel even they hungrier to get back on the field to do
Right.
something because they know now the offense is scoring and putting up some points. And it
So true.
becomes contagious. So I like what this team is doing right now. Like I said, yes, have we beaten some opponents we should beat? Yeah, we did. We did what we're supposed to do. Yes, you're
Yeah.
supposed to beat these teams. But let's be honest, this Arkansas game was not one that was circled as an easy win. This
No.
game was the one that was circled like, okay, we should beat Vanderbilt. We should beat Mississippi State at home. But
Yes.
the Arkansas game, you circled, you said, okay, this can go either way. You
Especially
know,
when they're coming off a win in the
all right,
swamp.
when right, so you thinking like, okay, this is not one you just circle, but we said if we could go 4-0 during this stretch after going 0-4 during the other stretch, this team gets some momentum. You building this thing the right way, and you're ending the season the right way, and you get to a bowl game, which gives you more practices with a lot of the young guys. And this may be the senior class. This may be their best win percentage if they win this weekend in their 4 years. 7
That's
wins would be the most for
crazy.
them in a would be the most for them in a season in 4 years. Like, that's just hard to say as an Auburn person, like, wow, but, we have to send them out on a winning note and everything, so it's still a lot to play
Definitely.
for this football team.
Yeah, and you feel things trending upward. You really do. The play on the field, the culture. We just got a pretty big commit and a 4-star
Mhm.
tight end, if I'm not mistaken. That was a big
Yeah.
get. Like the momentum starts swinging, and you see guys like Perry Thompson and the Riddick kid who are around Auburn all the time. Like you
Mhm.
just feel like the future is getting brighter and brighter. I also thought third down efficiency made a huge difference in this game. We were
Mm,
7 for 12. Arkansas was 1 for 12 on third
mm,
downs. So both sides of the ball, our efficiency, whether it was play calling or execution or both, or
mm,
honestly, it's being efficient on first and second down so that your third downs are more manageable as well. But all of that are areas that were not clicking a few weeks ago. So to see that progress, and then the flip of that, defense making it near impossible for them to convert on third downs. That's the
mm.
momentum piece that you're talking about. You can't let your opponent maintain it, and you have to let yourself create it. And we did both of those. And that is an area that we have really struggled in the past couple of years. So that
Right.
was super encouraging to see. And then I just want to give a shout out to Jalen McLeod and Marcus Harris because I think those
Yeah.
two are freaking playing lights out. And like I mentioned last week, the coaches will tell you like they're a little undersized for the SEC, but they play with everything they have. Jalen had 9 total tackles, 4
Mm,
tackles for loss, and 3 sacks. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
What? What a stat line. But it's got to continue. You've got 2 more weeks. You've got a bowl game, and you absolutely have to continue carrying that momentum into the off season.
Yeah, I'm looking at this schedule, for us. We got New Mexico State. Like I said, I was misunderstood when I first came here. I said, well, we're playing New Mexico State. I said, I just started looking at the notes today, so start preparing for the game. I hadn't really looked at
Mhm.
their record. And I was just like, when you said 8-3, I said 8-3. I was like, whoa. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that, because
Yeah.
they played UMass at the beginning of the year. We played UMass the second week, and UMass beat them in week one. But
Yep.
like you said, a lot has changed since week one, and
Mhm.
every football team has grown in some form or fashion. Either you gotten better or you gotten worse,
Yeah.
since that time. So I think this is one of the teams that has gotten a lot better. Look at
They
their
definitely have.
quarterback right now, Diego, as you say, Pavia. That's his last name.
Pavia.
Pavia. So Pavia
Mhm.
is has 60, basically 60% completion percentage, right at 59.7. Has 19 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 2,257 yards. So
Mhm.
he protects the football, from
Mhm.
what I see, and also, he's a guy that can run a little bit. He has 126 carries with 705 yards and 5 touchdowns. So,
Definitely. I had New Mexico State against UTEP a couple weeks ago for a midweek game, and so I have covered this team already. And their coaching staff refers to him as their version of Johnny Manziel.
mm,
Obviously, not the same level, but it's all relative. But this kid can create out of nothing. When you
mm,
think the play is broken down, when the pocket has completely collapsed, and you think the whistle's about to be blown, this kid sneaks out and takes off for 12 yards. Like he is very sneaky. He was a state champion wrestler. That's his
okay.
background. And they say that that's kind of how he plays. He's kind of like a pit bull when he's out there. So
Mm,
this is a guy that and look, sometimes the smaller ones are actually more challenging because
yeah,
they can get up under those lines and find little pathways for themselves. And he's a gritty, scrappy dude, and he plays like he's 6'5", even though he's probably 5'10", I would say. I think they have him listed at 6 foot, but I think he's more like 5'10".
mhm,
But he plays a lot bigger than he is. And Jerry Kill is a very proven coach. This is a guy who has coached at a lot of places and knows how to create winning football. And he has this team very fired up. They're going to be in the Conference USA Championship. So this is a team that is very confident in what they've done. And look, the age old you can't look ahead is going to be relevant here because
oh, yeah,
the entire state of Alabama is talking about the Iron
right,
Bowl. The entire
right,
SEC is talking about the Iron Bowl because of what we just did at Arkansas, and now Alabama is definitely playing in the SEC championship. Well, New
mm,
Mexico State comes in with a lot of confidence and a chip on their
mm.
shoulder. This is going to be a test of the maturity of this team. I fully believe we're going to be fine, but the mentality and the maturity of this team is going to be put on display if we let them stick around in the first half.
This is a great game for Auburn. Like you said, from a maturity standpoint, you get a chance to
Mhm.
see, hey, how do we react from a big victory?
Yeah.
Against a team that was kind of what we thought was like irrelevant. Like we knew
Yeah.
Vanderbilt, yeah, they called it in the SEC. We didn't look at Vanderbilt as relevant. Mississippi
Yeah.
State been struggling. They just fired the coach, so you knew that was the team that was struggling. So, but the Arkansas game, like I said, we knew that was a relevant opponent. Now you win that
Mhm.
game 48-10. how do you react with everyone patting you on your back? With everyone
Yep.
telling you, "Hey, man, you guys have turned the corner. You're looking good." How do you have tunnel vision now and block out all the noise on the outside? That's good noise now. How do you block that out to keep from getting complacent and going
Yeah.
against a team like New Mexico State this weekend that you say will be playing in the Conference USA Championship,
Mhm.
8-3, and they got a quarterback that's going to give us a little bit of something that we need to see anyways before we face Alabama in Milrose because he's a
True.
dual threat quarterback. So I like this matchup because this kid, like you said, he is savvy. He is
Yep.
gritty. He's one of those guys that, you know, he gonna fight you, until the end. And
Yep.
so this is a good matchup to prepare our football team to get ready to see what you're going to see a week from now. So
I
you're not
agree.
getting caught looking ahead, but this is a great matchup on the schedule that lines up for us right now that I think can help pay dividends in preparation.
Yes, I absolutely agree. I think it'll be another good test. I think another great game for our offense to continue that momentum because one thing you are absolutely going to need in Iron Bowl is that rhythm and consistency on the
Mhm.
offensive side of the ball because Alabama has figured out how to put points up. We didn't know where they were standing at the beginning of the year. The receivers looked rough. Milrow was doubted. They have figured it out. So our offense is going to have to be able to match that. So that definitely will be a key. I would love to continue to see some creativity in play calling, airing it out a little bit. But this defense is going to have to be keyed in on some of their stars. They also are kind of running back by committee. They have a lot of backs, which means they don't have the same wear and tear on them that some of these teams that just have their one guy. Trent Hudson is probably their best wide receiver. He's had a big year for them, and they have a lot of confidence in him. And look, they have a lot of transfers from Power Five. They've got a defensive
Yeah.
lineman from Arizona. They've got Eli Stowers, who played at Texas A&M. They've got him as a quarterback, but he was a tight end. He can play wide
Mhm.
receiver. He's kind of their Swiss Army knife a little bit. So, I mean, it's not a slouch team. I don't want anyone to think that way, especially when you look at, yes, UMass beat them and we beat UMass, but who everyone was week 1, 2, 3 is very different than who they are now. You're absolutely right. You either trend up or trend down as season continues. And this New Mexico State team has definitely trended up. So it'll be an exciting day and environment. And what do you know? Your girl's going to be there. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I get to call the game
Well,
again. A third Auburn game that both Jason and I will be on the coverage for.
I'm pretty sure coach will be happy that you're back on the plains. He said
I hope
every time
so.
you're there, they win. Everyone saw the Derek Mason I posted this weekend, and
Yes.
everyone's talking about the plaid suit. Some people digging it. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
see, I love it.
Some people asking me like, Jay, you think that's something you could swing? I said I could probably swing the top part, what I'm saying,
The
with just a
blazer.
little, yeah, the blazer with a little lighter
Okay.
shirt, but
Yeah.
then some solid pants. You know what I'm saying? I don't think I at 6'5", light skin, yeah, could wear a full plaid suit. So I'm just saying,
My
but
guy has so much swag, like, he can't
yeah.
even hide it. He walks into coaches' meetings with the J's and the sets, like, he's just always he walks in, I'm like, "Coach, I felt good about my outfit until you walked in. What the hell?"
Yeah,
He's
and
the
I told him,
best, though.
I told him, I said, "Man, you swagged out." So he said he got this tailor that's in Nashville that, hooks him up with his suits and
I'm
everything and
sure.
everything. He like, "Hey, Jay, I'm gonna send him your way." So I welcome that,
I
but
like it.
not the full plaid suit for me, coach. I'm
Just
sorry.
the blazer.
The shorter guys can swing it. Coach, you can swing it, you know what I'm
That's
saying? You can
true.
swing it, but these tall guys, it just
Yeah, that would be a lot of plaid on you.
yeah, that'd be a lot of plaid, so I just wanted to get that said though. But shout out
I
to
love
Coach
that.
though for coming to the booth set, chatting it up with me.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Look forward to talking with him even more. I say this though, for this Auburn football team, it's gonna be a key for this team to keep a lot of these core pieces together.
I
And what
agree.
I mean by that is some of these guys I know gonna think it's time to jump and try to go pro because they get caught up into the little bit of the hype that you're winning a little bit now. But you have to see this thing as a full picture, like
Mhm.
making sure that you give yourself the best opportunity, at the next level because it's not about, getting there. It's how long can you stay in and how long can you give yourself an opportunity to reach pensions and all that type
That's
of
a
stuff.
good point.
So these guys have to think, but it just makes you think though. You can keep the core group of guys together, and then you figure out the quarterback situation. I got to that subject because I got to thinking about recruiting, because
Okay.
recruiting, it helps when you start to win games in November, because signing day is December 20th, and you
Mhm.
want to be showing that something that the kids can see, what we call progress. And right
Mhm.
now, they see progress. Receivers are getting happy that's on board to commit and come, because they see the ball getting moved around and thrown around. Some are like, hey, I can't wait to be in that position, 'cause I got to try to make that play. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Then you look at it's the overall, they say, okay, they're trending upward. I want to be part of the trending upward.
And I hope that that is matched with a lot of core guys wanting to stay and marry kind of like the veteran guys that have been a part of this establishment this year. It definitely looks like it's starting to click what this coaching staff wants the identity to be, what it's going to look like moving forward. Now imagine it with some of more pieces. We've already seen what this staff can do in the transfer portal when they had proven nothing. Like
Right.
imagine what kind of attraction or how attractive Auburn would be. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I saw the camera on Coach Freeze on the field at the end of the game, and he was in KJ's ear. And I was like, I don't know what kind of eligibility KJ's working with, but I bet he was asking him, like, what you got next year? I mean, like, I think
Yeah,
if
I
you
need
put a
KJ to show
better,
some more energy though.
for
Like
sure, he feels checked
it's
out. Honestly,
yeah,
I wouldn't
like
I that's not my pick personally. I want Riley Leonard, but, that's neither here nor there.
yeah.
We gotta talk about it wouldn't be an episode of our podcast if Jason didn't talk about food and if I didn't bring up something that I was right about, and that is that the season is not over yet, and Jimbo Fisher is no longer in College Station. Jimbo Fisher had 0 national titles, 0 conference titles, 0 division titles, 0 10-win seasons, 0 wins versus ranked opponents on the road, 0 ranked finishes in the last full 4 seasons, a worse record than Kevin Sumlin, and has $117 million guaranteed.
Yeah, that's the part that drives me crazy,
Yikes.
is the fact that you lose a job. See, I'm all for assistants continuing to get paid when a head coach gets fired, because the assistant, you're not in the head role position. You know what I'm saying? And the head coach is already making big money. But when
Yeah.
your head coach doesn't have any incentives in his contract that says you have to win a certain amount of games before you get bumped up in your contract, or you have to win a division championship, or even be considered in the playoffs and all those type of things. When I was in the NFL, there's incentives in your contract. And
Yeah.
if you don't reach those incentives, then you don't get those bonuses. There need to be some type of bonuses in these contracts, because that's just highway robbery. We got people out here that can't even get full health care,
That is
and then
so true.
we're sending a coach out of a job with $76 million to go do
To
what? Sit
not
on the
work.
lake, to sit on the lake. You underachieve your job. So since you underachieve your job, how do you get to make all this money for underachieving? What's
That's
your
so
what
true.
what's your push? What's your push when you sign these big contracts to make sure the program really gets on top?
Right.
Like, you don't have any incentive but to say, I just want to do it from an integrity standpoint. But other than that, you already set. So you don't have any type of something that's pushing you or whatever, because Jimbo ain't nowhere crying today. Jimbo's sitting at
No,
home right
he
now.
is celebrating.
Yeah. He getting 19 million by January. And then he's getting 7.2 million or 7.5 million per year for the next however years until it's paid off.
It's
And
crazy.
for underachieving. Like, that what ticks me off, that the
Mhm.
fact that we got so much going on here in the country, but then we got so much going on where people are struggling, but then you can afford to pay a coach that much money for underachieving a program.
You're right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that should tick you off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, to the fact that how is that even fair that some boosters or whatever got to go out here and raise all this money? Everyone that hired him should be fired, because
Yeah.
how they go out here and they get allow this contract to take place. He was already taking Florida State to the hole, even though he won a national championship, they was going
Right.
down like this. He was
Yeah.
already taken to a hole when they hired him,
It was a
and then you
bad
were
choice.
and then you're rewarded with that huge contract. Or he was that program there was like, "We're ready to get rid of you anyways from Florida State, even though you won us a championship." Like, you had some talented guys,
Mhm.
and now those talented guys are gone. The Ramseys and Winstons and all them was gone. Now you gotta really coach, and you couldn't do it. And you can't say anything about recruiting because you had top 5 recruiting classes for the last 5 years, and you've
Mhm.
underachieved, and you had nothing to in that contract to live up to because regardless of what happened, you was walking away with that money. And
Yep.
that money has gotta be paid out of somebody's pocket and everything, and people should be ashamed and in an uproar that something like this happens over and over again.
I could not agree more. When you really take it down to its bones, it's not so much about the fact that it's happening. It's like, how was this ever the case? Like, how was this risk ever taken?
How
It's
do you sign off on something like that?
exactly. It really doesn't make sense. And then, yeah, if you get into like the holistic aspect of it, the literal pillars of our society, teachers, first responders, they're struggling to make ends meet. And we've got coaches that have proven nothing and are getting given
Yeah,
$70 million to no longer work. It is an insane
yeah.
concept. It really is.
You didn't win 10 games, you didn't go to the division championship, you didn't even make it to a
No,
playoff, you didn't even make it to the SEC championship none of those years. You pulled off a robbery. That's exactly what he did. Like, so
117
Texas, yeah,
million.
yeah, so he basically just laughed at Texas A&M walking out the door.
Two fingers in the air. You can guess which
Yeah,
ones for sure.
because,
Well, he wasn't the only one this weekend. Ironically, their opponent, Mississippi State, chose to part ways with Zach Arnett, and another one that I absolutely saw coming and am not surprised by. The only surprise with A&M is the financial
uh,
implication, obviously. But here's another thing with the A&M situation in particular. You don't swallow a $77 million buyout unless you are pretty sure who you're bringing in. I don't think
oh,
this is, I think they have a pretty clear indicate. I don't know who it is at this point. Lane was quick to shut it down. I don't know if we can believe that. Um, Dan Lanning was asked about openings. I actually do believe him. He seems very steadfast in not wanting to leave Oregon yet. And for some reason, I kind of believe him. Like Lane will kind of
yeah.
dance around the situation and say, that's not what we're talking about here. Dan Lanning straight up said, 0% chance I'm not going anywhere. So
Why
for
would
some
he?
reason, I agree. And they're building something really good. He has all the resources he needs. Yeah, I don't think he goes anywhere yet.
Now, I got
I
a name that I think would fit there. I know people may go in
A&M.
uproar because I said it, yeah, but
What?
I think he needs a change of scenery. I think he's a good coach. I think he needs a change of scenery. I think he can bring in the guys. I think he's now re-energized, remotivated since everyone was on his head a couple weeks ago on the
Dabo.
Fine Bomb show. Dabo Sweeney. I think Dabo could
Okay.
go to A&M, and I think it can be a resurgence of energy for him because guess what?
Interesting.
Before NIL, who out recruited Clemson?
You've got a point.
Nobody. Nobody
You
out
got
recruited
a point.
Clemson. So he don't have to go out there and say a word. He all that thing gonna ask him, what do you need? And he'll say, I need D linemen, I need receivers, I need this, I need that. This is how much. And only thing they're gonna say is, okay, this is what we're gonna have set aside for us to be able to, once these guys get here, to sign these kids and everything from a recruiting standpoint. Because the only
Yeah.
thing he gonna say is he gonna do just like Coach Saban. I don't want to know about the NIL. I don't want to be involved with it. Let NIL take care of that once the kids are here. Let the coaches sign who they want to sign. And my job when they get here is to orchestrate everybody on the same page as a head coach. So for
Yeah.
him, it'll be like being back in Clemson before NIL because he won't have to worry about it as much. You know, Jimbo could recruit, but he couldn't
Mhm.
develop. He couldn't develop.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So I just think for him, it'll give him a position to be like in A&M with the opportunity. But Mississippi State was smart about this, though. Let's just be honest. Mississippi State They gave what's his name $4.5 million buyout. But they know at the end of the day, he's a pretty good defensive coordinator. So they know
Yeah.
somebody's gonna go hire him as a defensive coordinator. So they paying him $1.5 million annually for the next 4 years. They don't even have to worry about that because someone will hire him
Yeah,
as a defensive coordinator for 1 million to 1.5 million. So it's gonna offset a lot of that, and he'll come off Mississippi State's books. So Mississippi State AD
that's
has
true.
a connection with some guys already. So, for them, it was the right thing to do because that thing was just a train just going downhill
He was not
without
a
a
head
break.
coach. I can tell you that
Yeah,
immediately. He did not have the makings of a head coach, and I mean, I think you're right. He was a great DC. He's a good defensive mind. He gets his guys to play tough. He could not handle everything that a head coach is tasked with, and that no matter how much you hate it, you are the face of the program. You are the
mhm,
representative to the media, to boosters, to ambassadors. You got to play the game a little bit. That's part of it. Your culture will suffer if you put up a big stink about those head coach responsibilities. And he did. And I mean, he took one of the most prolific offenses and tried to completely change it even though the roster was built around it. Like it was really bad decision making and he didn't operate well in the role. So I wasn't surprised in the slightest. And honestly, I think that it probably was maybe bumped up in schedule because A&M fired Jimbo, because now all these programs are having to go, crap, we got to make sure that we get our guy. It becomes a rat race a little bit.
right.
There are rumors that Jamie Chadwell is in the running for Mississippi State. He was the
Yeah,
Coastal Carolina coach for years, then went up to Liberty in a move that was kind of confusing. I did a poll on my Instagram yesterday, and a lot of people submitted Dan Mullen, and he has obviously
yeah.
been
Oh,
in television. What? Yeah.
Dan Mullen.
Yep. That is
Dan
a
Mullen was
very
he was there already.
yeah, I know, and did pretty well. I mean, that was the Dak era,
He
and then
did,
he
yeah, he
left
did
to go to
well.
Florida and
Yeah,
tanked at Florida. But
he just can't win the big
there
game.
I know, I know. That was a very popular response. Look, it is only a matter of time, in my opinion, until Gus Malzahn is back in the SEC. Whether it's Arkansas moves on from if Arkansas moves on from Sam Pittman, I would bet Jimbo Fisher's buyout that Gus is their first call.
Well, he's from Arkansas,
That's what I'm saying.
like, he's from Arkansas, but I would say to differ and say Rhett Lashley would end up at one of these calls from Mississippi State or
Mhm.
somewhere. Cause
I could
what
see
he's
that.
doing what he's doing at Sanford, and he's a younger guy. I
SEC
don't know
background.
SEC background, and I've heard Beamer has a connection with the AD at Mississippi State, the South Carolina head coach. So he was
Hmm.
asked in a press conference, and of course, every coach always gonna say the coach talk,
You're gonna turn it off.
but
Yeah.
right. But let's be honest, most ADs that go somewhere bring in someone they already have a connection with. And Beamer has a connection with that AD. So
At Mississippi State?
at Mississippi State. So there's
I
a
just
lot of
don't know
things,
what would be better for you at State
that
than at South Carolina.
I think Gus is happy in UCF though. I'm gonna be honest with you. I
I
think
do too.
egoish. He probably say, "Yeah, I want to get back in the SEC and play against the top guns and go at them." But I think from a perspective of, I'm getting older. Do I want all
L
that stress?
Yeah.
I'm living in warm weather in Florida year round. I'm making good money. I know state tax. I'm in the Big 12 now, so it's not like I'm in just a
Group of
regular
5
group
or
of 5.
yeah.
I'm in the Power 5 now.
Yeah. It's very true.
So I have a chance to build something without the pressure of, if I don't win 10 games this year, if I don't win 10 games next year, then they're talking about firing me again, and all that type of stuff. Why put that pressure on yourself? Now,
Yeah.
from a competitive standpoint, I could see it, but just logically, at your age, does it make a lot of sense for him to do that?
Yeah. I am so intrigued by these openings in particular, the fact that they're both SEC West at a time that a lot is changing. We're adding 2 schools to the SEC next year, eliminating divisions, playoff expands. What a time to bring in new coaches into programs that really have buy-in. I mean, definitely more A&M than Mississippi State. And even from a culture standpoint, the Mississippi State job, they're gonna have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
When I was there, the stadium was barely filled and it was quiet. And my friends that are Mississippi State fans, they were like, I'm not gonna lie, I turned it off in the third quarter. Like
Mm,
there's not as much interest right now. And so I think you've got to bring in somebody who rejuvenates that place. And A&M, I think you got to bring in a proven winner. And so I think that they'll be looking for different things in those two roles.
Rich Rodriguez at Jacksonville State comes to
Yeah,
mind for me. It's
that's
a guy
true.
that they can probably go and get because he's coached at some major colleges and big time
Mm-hmm.
programs. And what he's done at Jacksonville State has been outstanding this year. So I definitely think
That's a
his
good
name
one.
pops up that comes there. Sam Pittman, this is what I think with Sam. I think Sam's job got a little safer when those other guys jumped out there and did something because I think they don't
1000%.
I think they don't want to get into that whole saga of, do we get our guy, do not all this. I think they like Sam Pittman. I
Mm-hmm.
think they do just being out there. I think they just want to see some energy.
Yeah.
They want to see some energy, some fight. They lost what 6 games in a row, but a lot of them was one score games. And
Mm-hmm.
let's be honest, their roster is not as talented as a lot of other rosters, but
Yeah.
fight is what they can't show. Is what happened last week. They can't show that effort that they had against Auburn. Then everyone knows what'll happen. But if they can
Yeah.
come out there and fight against FIU, and then Missouri is a hard game, but if they can fight against Missouri and just show heart and effort, I think he can survive this and get a whole nother off season to go get an offensive coordinator and everything and rebuild
I
that
agree.
thing. Because T. Will and his side of the ball first year there. So I
Yeah.
would think with them not having an offensive coordinator, like that's tough. So I think they go get a coordinator off season. Now you have an opportunity to see where he can do next year and
I
everything.
agree.
But uh South Florida is another one that could go either way at the end of this year.
South Florida?
No, no, Florida.
You think they
Florida.
would fire Billy?
I'm just saying, you lost to Arkansas. They had lost 6 games in a row. They come to Florida. If he doesn't go bowl eligible, and then the way they just they fought LSU for a good numbers of quarters, and it's hard to stop that machine down there that they got going on
Mhm.
offense. But you know how Florida is. You know how they are. If they don't make it to a bowl game this year, I'm talking about it could get loud. It could get really noisy and really loud down there. And
It's
they got money.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's
So
crazy. He's only been there 2 years, but I mean, look, we've got short-term memory problems in the SEC. We all expect to dominate immediately, but let me just say one thing. I am so grateful it's not us. I am so grateful it is not us this year. Oh, the chaos of a coaching change and who are we getting, who's interested, who's denying us, what players are going to stay. We got our guy and I'm feeling really freaking good about it. And things are trending upward and we can just sit back with popcorn and watch the rest of the conference implode. So yeah, we will definitely keep our eyes on all of that because it is likely to continue with some chaos because yeah, I mean, if a coach does get poached from another SEC program to go to A&M or Mississippi State, let's say Lane does get poached and brought to A&M. Okay, well now the Ole Miss job is vacant. Who did they get? Like the carousel begins. Lest we not forget. I mean, Michigan State has been a storyline all season. Boise State just fired their head coach. I would not be surprised if a few more. I mean, look, Mike Elko's name is on all the lists because of what he did at Duke, one of the hardest schools
yeah.
that you could turn a football program around at. Imagine him in a
Mm,
situation that has major support and resources. So I think he very much will be in conversation. I think that a guy like John Sumrall, who's the coach at Troy,
mm.
it's only a matter of time before he gets brought into a,
Oh
a
yeah, his
Power
name
Five
come up.
position. He's a great, great coach. So
Mm.
look, it's going to get more chaotic before it chills out, and I kind of welcome it as long as it doesn't include Auburn. So we love that it doesn't. But that is going to do it for us this week on Bleav in Everything Auburn because it's pitch black, even though it is 4:45. This time change has ruined my life. But that's going to do it for us this week on Bleav in Everything Auburn. Thank you so much for listening and following along. You know the drill. You can subscribe if you haven't already. You'll get a notification every time we release an episode. You can find us on the Apple Podcast app, Spotify, Bleav's website. We are also on Bleav's YouTube channel. So if you prefer to watch on video, you can find us there. Ring the bell, leave a comment. Make sure you subscribe on there too. And come on back next week and we'll break down all the action from another home game inside Jordan-Hare and then preview the all-important Iron Bowl. Have a great week, everybody. Until we talk again, War Eagle.
War Eagle, everybody.